but it causes repeated trauma to the brain. And over years and years of this happening, people can get what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE syndrome. And it's almost like a disease, because with repeated trauma to the brain, and that can lead to memory problems, mood swings, even trouble with movements, and eventually people can develop dementia, like Alzheimer's disease. And Jake Paul got knocked out by Anthony Joshua this past Friday night. And so I want to break this down from a medical perspective. I'm a neurosurgeon with over 25 years of experience. And so, you know, what happens is when you get hit in the head with that kind of force, like in boxing, our brain actually moves inside our skull, and it can bump into the skull, which is a firm structure, and cause bruising in the brain.
In the morning, I can't sleep. My jaw's busted. They wired it up a couple hours ago, and it hurts every time I move my mouth. I lost tonight. I gave everything, and I still lost. Feels like I let everyone down. I'm not unbreakable.
Jake
Paul gets his jaw broken. Not only that, but he gets his lower jaw broken from the right and the left side. So both sides. And not only this, following that, he went through an emergency surgery procedure to get that sorted out, and titanium plates were inserted to help stabilize the case. This will take long to fully heal.
Here's the thing, this confrontation nobody wants to face. When you take damage like that, truly devastating damage, your body keeps score even when your mind tries to forget. And all this medical discussion about brain trauma and lasting effects isn't just background noise, it's reality, because trauma compounds, and Jake just absorbed punishment that doesn't fade with rest.
He was going like tie him down and catch him with a good shot and shit like that. So wait, do you think, curious, because it's a business aspect, but again, I'm still a nigga. And
half a year? Maybe longer? Surgical hardware? Rebuilding teeth? Physical changes? Mental hesitation? That's only scratching the surface of what's visible, because something fundamental broke the instant he confessed heavyweight was beyond him. That admission hit deeper than any physical blow, sounding like certainty crumbling into fear.
A couple of times, pushed down on the back of his neck, pushed down on the back of his head, got him to the ground. There was a few times where Jake looked like he was going for a takedown. Again, that was Jake trying to engage in the clinch, and AJ smartly moved back. In one instance, I think it was the 5th round, Jake engaged for a clinch, AJ moved back and started punching.
When Anthony Joshua offered those respectful words afterward, it actually made everything worse, because when your opponent shows mercy, it confirms you needed saving. When AJ mentioned that punch would flatten seasoned heavyweights, he wasn't complimenting Jake. He was providing perspective, and perspective cuts deep when it reveals how fragile the foundation always was.
To Anthony Joshua sleeping Jake and breaking his jaw in 2 different places, along with breaking his teeth. Javante joined the fun with the rest of the boxing community by throwing a meme on Jake Paul. That was his reaction, as you guys see above.
This doesn't wrap up with healing updates and inspirational content, because right now, promoters are reassessing everything. Fresh opponents are positioning themselves, athletic commissions are paying attention, and there's quiet chatter, very quiet, suggesting not everyone wants to see any rematch conversation happen.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome, as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what kind of recovery process Jake would be.
You might be expecting the comeback narrative, the redemption angle, the rising from ashes storyline, but be honest with yourself. After witnessing that transformation from confident to broken, do you truly believe the swagger returns intact, or will doubt creep in during the next crucial moment? That split second of hesitation ends everything.
Down on Jake's back. So all of those things kind of deteriorated or emptied Jake's gas tank a lot earlier than I think he expected it to. But overall, I thought he deployed his game plan well for the first 5 rounds and actually had some success He even moved AJ back a few times. One, by just jabbing in the air, and two, when he caught him, he moved.
There's more brewing beneath the surface. I can sense it, because too many responses feel rehearsed. Too many voices sound careful, and somebody's protecting information, whether it's business dealings, medical details, or choices made long before this fight that explain how everything unraveled so quickly. When that surfaces, this entire narrative changes direction.
Yeah, he just represents everything that's wrong with boxing, unprofessionalism, and you know, he's getting what you know, he's reaping what he sows. But I hate working with people like that. He stands everyone up, film crews, everything, doesn't do any promotion.
This story isn't finished, nowhere near it, because Jake Paul didn't simply lose a bout. He opened a conversation the sport refuses to close. While he recovers away from cameras and others celebrate publicly, time keeps moving toward the next bombshell, the next leak, the next revelation. When it breaks, you'll regret looking away for even a moment.
Jake Paul was knocked out in round 6 and suffered 2 fractures to his left jaw. Here's the moment that did it.
Chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face.
There's no way I can share the actual injury here. It's a bit too gruesome as the camera was put inside Jake's mouth and his teeth were actually not in a straight line. They were separated from the others as the jaw deviated. The question is though, what kind of recovery process Jake would be.
He didn't just fall unconscious, he got completely dismantled. Facial bones shattered, career trajectory altered, and the terrifying reality is this might mark the night Jake Paul's boxing persona quietly flatlined. Stay focused, because I'm rewinding this entire disaster to the moment before impact, when everyone believed willpower could outsmart physics and force, somehow surviving what approached, which was impossible, not remotely close. This feels surreal, but it happened.
AJ came right back in and swung, but he did move him back.
When this fight was first announced, you said to several media members that like initially you weren't down for this fight. You thought it was just a little bit too much too soon, to paraphrase. Did he do better? Did Jake do better than you thought? Result aside, obviously you wanted him to win. You thought, I think by the end that he was going to win, but did he actually do better than you thought initially?
This wasn't just a fight conclusion, it was an awakening, because when Jake collapsed and couldn't rise, that wasn't fatigue or misfortune. That was boxing finally shouting reality at him. And here's what everyone's avoiding, but will eventually face. Something fractured long before that final blow. Something fundamental, something concealed, and somebody in this narrative is deceiving us, and we haven't reached that truth yet.
And doesn't do any posts, but it is what it is. I'm actually glad this all happened this way so that he doesn't get, you know, the biggest paycheck of his life and just continues to be a piece of shit.
You sensed the shift when everything changed, right? That instant where the crowd fell silent and even the announcers paused, because that's how delusion sounds when it shatters live. I'm warning you now, this wasn't Anthony Joshua reaching his peak. This was Jake stepping into violence he never truly understood. If you believe this stops at facial fractures, you're already missing the point. Everyone discusses Hart like it's protection, but Hart couldn't shield him. Hart just kept him conscious long enough to absorb punishment that destroys futures. Because what broke wasn't only bone, it was the line separating entertainment boxing from real heavyweight reality, and medical professionals are discussing things privately they won't confirm publicly yet.
Yeah, there's a lot of punching down, practicing, hitting below my knees, and a lot of speed.
He warming up.
We're
now.
sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds. I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass and I'm gonna beat Jaden Love ass. On my mama, I'm gonna beat both of y'all ass. On my mama. And he laughing. He know.
You witnessed the medical scans, the hospital updates, but what remained hidden was the chaos backstage. how quickly that operation happened, how this transformed from a sports injury into an emergency situation. And here's what disturbs me most. That closing right cross didn't just connect, it shifted power dynamics, changed timelines, and possibly altered how regulators evaluate these competitions moving forward. Everyone laughed. Tank laughed. Jokes exploded online, but pay attention because this gets disturbing. That laughter isn't pure mockery, it's relief. Relief that someone finally voiced what boxing was thinking, and there's animosity here running much deeper than humor, deeper than social media, deeper than anyone's acknowledging currently.
Right, listen, respect to Jake. You know, he was a tough guy in there. Obviously, he moved a lot and made it difficult for AJ. And AJ's been out of the ring for a while, he's a bit rusty. It took him time to just get hold of him, but I was impressed with Jake. And listen, as I said to the geezer, at the end of the day, he took shots that a lot of people would have got knocked out clean out by, especially at the end, you know? So, yeah.
Was it frustrating for you to watch?
No, I mean, maybe, like, obviously, when
People react that way when Jake targeted others, destroyed relationships, challenged reputations, and when the Tank opportunity collapsed, something broke because rather than adjusting course, he pushed harder. That choice, that specific choice, will resurface in unexpected ways. Some fighters never forget, and forgiveness isn't their style. Something nasty is developing.
Respect to Jake Paul, that we took a few rounds to get going because Jake was moving a lot and holding a lot, and you know, it was difficult to nail him clean, I think. But eventually AJ took his time, cut him off, and smashed him about. And listen, respect to Jake Paul, because that last shot, I know he broke his, shattered his jaw, but it would have knocked most heavyweights out. So I've got to give him credit.
I was going to say, in the end, are you pleased with that? Because obviously everyone was saying...
We'll argue that. He at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's tough. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him, is 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet, my brother.
And when they're rugby tackling you, but he had to do what he had to do to survive. And he did that. So, you know, it's very difficult to go in like, you know, out the ring for 14 months and just be razor sharp with a guy running. And so, yeah, probably 2 or 3 rounds more than expected. But fair play to Jake Paul. It was a lot tougher than I thought, and he took a lot more shots than I thought he could.
What did AJ tell you inside the ring about the fight?
Wicked fight. Respect to Jake Paul for taking the fight. Took a heavy shot. But you know what? What a fantastic fight he put on. But big well done to AJ. We knew from day one AJ was going to do it, but the better fighter was going to win.
People said that Jake Paul was running. Do you feel like he ran, or do you like...
I mean, against someone like AJ, AJ's a big guy, strong guy, and he can hurt you. So yeah, 100%, like, he's going to want to avoid his power, but you know what? He got caught in the corner and bang, he was out.
Or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that...
We'll argue that. He at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him, is 6 inches taller. That's insane. He's one of the most skilled fighters on the planet, my brother.
Meanwhile, the jokes multiply, the arguments continue, and the image that haunts everything is Jake Paul confident beforehand and shattered afterward, a transformation that captures the complete story in one comparison.
Graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fight Fighting's not just physical, it's psychological.
Everyone's now pretending this was competitive, hiding behind respectful statements and moral consolations. But respect doesn't repair fractures, and it doesn't change the fact that Anthony Joshua decoded him, methodically, patiently, like someone solving a problem he'd already figured out. If you think other competitors weren't studying this closely, you're fooling yourself.